Hello, everyone. This is the English version of the story I had shared with the dear ones who attended the Zoom meeting satsang, which is being conducted during the Delhi program in the city of New Delhi. This is the story about a initiate of Master Kirpal Singh Ji. As you are aware that Master Kirpal Singh Ji used to spend times in his house on Rajpur Road, Dehradun, and some dear ones used to go there, be with him, meditate, and ask him the questions. And this is the place where Master Kirpal Singh had written many books in the early days. So while the master was in Rajpur, meditation sittings were held mornings and evenings, usually in the open at the front of the bungalow, but sometimes on the veranda or in the large living room, very occasionally in Kirpal's own rooms. His room was frequently filled with people sitting on the floor before his bed, where he sat writing or relaxing or talking to those present. One evening, a small group of followers was in his room, but Kirpal did not speak to anyone. Every now and then, he expelled a deep sigh or made a remark about putting importance on useless worldly things. The next evening, the sighs continued. Then Kirpal said something about the foolishness of man throwing away an invaluable gift for empty seashells. The evening was spent in this fashion, and finally Taiji, Bibi Hardevi, could not contain herself no longer. She burst out suddenly and said, "Maharaj Ji, what is the matter? I have never seen you like this. Is the world going to end?" The master replied, "No, but through foolishness, sometimes valuable time is lost." Everyone could see that Taiji was apprehensive, but in a brave, bantering tone, she said, "Please do not talk in riddles. If something very bad is going to happen, at least warn us about it." But Kirpal said no more. The following 2 evenings passed in the same solemn way. Taiji was worried, but the years with the master had taught her that there were times when it behooved a person to remain silent. So she said in a quiet and meditative mood. As the evening light began to fade into shadows, Kirpal stretched out on his bed and closed his eyes. After a while, he murmured, "Data, Data, it is as you will." Then he sat up, smiled at Taiji, and asked for a cup of tea. By the time tea was made and brought in from the kitchen, he was talking and laughing with everyone as usual. Later, when Hardevi, Taiji, she was also called Madam Hardevi, so when she pleaded with him to tell her what the evenings of sighs and sadness were all about, he just said, "You will know by tomorrow." The next afternoon, Taiji was sitting in the courtyard at the rear of the bungalow, where Master Kirpal came out, holding a telegram in his hands. And he said, "Malkit Singh died yesterday evening." When she heard this, Taiji's eyes overflowed with tears. "Your love for him must have been great," she said, "that you suffered with him for 3 nights. Kirpal said, "He had to pay for what he did and was made to suffer." Now the story is about Malkit Singh. So who is Malkit Singh? You know that after the tours, when Master Kirpal Singh would come back to India, people from all different centers of the mission and all the satsangis from all over, those who could afford, they would come to Delhi and have the darshan of the master. because the tours were very long and people did not have the opportunity to know about what was going on, because in those days there were not so many good means of communication. Occasionally, Master Kirpal Singh would write a letter addressed to all the Sangat. So that was the only thing the dear ones would know about Master Kirpal. So when he would come, people would gather at the Saman ashram. Master would meet them, see them, inquire about the dear ones who he knew and who had not been able to come to see him. So one of those he inquired after was Malkit Singh, who surprisingly had not come to see Master Kirpal upon his return to India. Everyone knew Malkit Singh to be sincerely devoted, that he was able to go to the higher planes and was an inspiration to all with his love for his Guru and his progress in meditation. Upon Kirpal's inquiry, the report came back that Malkit Singh was still fasting. He had not eaten a morsel of food for 5 or 6 months and was now a very sick man. A letter was sent asking him if he could come to the ashram. In response to this, he came, sick as he was, and his wife accompanied him. An extraordinary scenario was about to take place for all to see. His previous visits to Saman ashram had been special occasions. Loved and respected, there had always been a small crowd to surround him, to gaze at his glowing face so full of love for his master. Now, when he arrived, the people looked at him and drew back, uncertain and confused. All the inner glow had left his countenance. His eyes were hollowed with pain and misery. His unkempt hair and person gave him the air of a madman. The rumor was whispered that he was in the grip of tuberculosis, and the usually friendly crowd were inclined to shun him. All this was shocking in itself, but there was another perplexing factor. Although Kirpal had caused the letter to be sent, calling Malkit Singh to the ashram, where a room was given him, nourishing food arranged for his meals, and a doctor instructed to attend him, yet there was no loving welcome from Kirpal, as there always had been in the past. A friend had been watching all this going on and asked Malkit Singh what had happened to set his fortune on such an insecure footing. The world and its illusion spreads its fickle influence even among the unsuspecting, and if the admirers had turned their backs, it was not so unusual. But why would that very one, who was love itself personified, seem to be so indifferent? Malkit Singh saw the concern in his friend's face and broke down into tears. Slowly, the story was told. Malkit Singh told him that since the very first day that I saw Master Kirpal and I heard him, I knew somewhere within me that I had found that which I had searched for my whole life through, although at that time I did not fully realize it consciously. But he appeared to me and gave me initiation within. He made me his with no effort from me, like a drop of water sliding into the ocean and losing itself. Then when he accepted me outwardly, I felt as if all my strings that were attached to the world had been severed, and I floated upward effortlessly. He took me to higher planes and showered me with his eternal love. He made me take a dip in the holy water of life, the Mansarovar, every time I went up on my way to higher regions. He blessed me with such gifts that are beyond the imagination, even that of some gifted spiritual people. They say a dog is just a dog. He continued in the same sad tone of voice. It is true. Take a starving dog, wash him in scented water, sit him on the silken cushion upon a golden throne, serve him the choicest food, and attend on him hand and foot. But if he sees a dirty, dry old bone, he will leave everything for it, for he is just a dog after all. So it was with me. People came to know about my inner progress, and they started looking up to me. I resented this at first, for I knew I was nothing, and Maharaj Ji, Master Kirpal, was everything. But gradually my mind, the dog in me, started relishing the adoring eyes. My ego made me feel and believe that I was something special, and I began prancing around like a peacock. Then one day a man came to me. He was a yogi, but he had tuberculosis. He had been discharged from the hospital as the doctors could do no more for him, and he had just a few more days or months left to live. He wanted to talk about the higher life. I asked him what he would do if he was given another span of life. He said, I would spend every breath that I took in remembrance of God. Hearing this, I told him that I would take his sickness upon myself. Full of ego, I knew I could do it, and I knew that I would then go up inside to that lake of life and take a dip in it, thereby washing away all the karmas I had incurred. So with the inner knowledge I had learned, I took his sickness upon myself and then sat in the meditation. When I left the body, I went straight to the Mansarovar. Maharaj Ji was standing there beside the lake, and I bowed down to him and made to go into the lake for a dip. But Maharaj Ji, Master Kirpal Singh, lifted his hand and stopped me. He told me that I would not be allowed to have that plunge in the holy water, and that I would have to pay the karmic debt through my body, for I had transgressed the holy law. I returned to my body. I was sorely sick in mind and agonized in my soul. With eyes filled with pain, he turned toward his friend and continued. He said, since that day, I have not been able to concentrate. My mind has taken over and I am like a weakened child in its power. I have lost the inner light and I have lost the hope of regaining that which I have lost. Funny thing is, I do not care. I do not care what happens to me. I only want my beloved's love. If only he would love me again, I would go through any hell with laughter on my lips. A few days later, Malkit Singh and his wife left the ashram and returned to Kanpur. Kanpur is the name of the city from where he belonged. After some months, the news came by telephone that his condition was much worse. When Kirpal was told, he left for Kanpur by car that evening, cancelling everything on his schedule for the next 2 days. It was a long drive and the car did not reach Kanpur until the early morning. Kirpal went straight to Malkit Singh's home and greeted him with loving tenderness. Malkit Singh sobbed bitterly and everyone present had tears running down their cheeks. After a while, Kirpal told him to ask for anything he desired and it would be given. Malkit Singh said, Maharaj Ji, there is nothing in this world or the other worlds that is greater than your love. So please give me forgiveness and love. That is all I want. Master Kirpal smiled and told him that it would be as he desired. Then he told him to close his eyes and meditate. During this meditation, Kirpal remained seated beside the bed. No one knows what blessing the Master bestowed, but after half an hour, Kirpal spoke his name and the eyes of Malkit Singh opened and turned to his Master, filled with adoration and tears as he folded his hands in gratitude. Back in Delhi, some days later, Master Kirpal Singh was informed that Malkit Singh would be entering a sanatorium, which up to then he had refused to do. Later, when he went to the sanatorium, and it was during those 3 days of suffering which he was going through, the incident at the Rajpur Road house, Dehradun, happened, which was mentioned earlier. When he was about to leave the body and he was paying the karmas, here in Dehradun, Master Kirpal Singh was experienced that suffering, and in spirit he was with Malkit Singh, giving him the support, but he had to pay for what he did, like Master Kirpal Singh said. So this was the story of Malkit Singh, that how in his suffering, how in his unhappiness, and the moment when he was paying off the karmas, his master was with him. This story was narrated to the real ones who had witnessed the suffering Master Kirpal was going through during those 3 days. And someone asked a question to Master. The question was that, Master, Malkit Singh had advanced so much inwardly, then he did wrong and all he had gained was taken from him. Has he to work from the beginning again? Master Kirpal Singh answered, no. Whatever a soul has realized is never taken from him permanently. Just as you can lock up your money in the bank for a certain amount of time and cannot withdraw it until the prescribed time expires, so it can be with spiritual advancement under a living master. If the master sees that the disciple is ruining all he has been given, his earnings are locked up until the disciple is capable of looking after the gift again. Then he starts from wherever he had reached, and the master releases the previous spiritual advancement so that whatever had been earned is restored to him. Thank you, Master. Thank you, everyone.